Hey, welcome everyone. This is Brian Elaine. I'm here with Jon Acuff, and today we're going to talk about something that you learned and while you were doing the research for your latest book, Finish, something I think that surprised you a little bit, and that was the importance of fun when you're trying to achieve a goal. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I thought it'd be good to do a kind of quick video because I don't get to go everywhere and share the ideas. I get to go to a lot of companies and speak, which is fun. But one of the things that was surprising was how important fun is to a goal. And I think the reality is that a lot of people think a goal has to be miserable or boring or noble to count. So if you say to somebody, what are the first 5 words that come to your mind when you think of a goal? They think willpower, persistence, discipline, character, grind. Like it's all these really difficult words. No one ever says, oh, a goal? I think fun and laughter and joy and smiling and just having a blast. Like nobody says that. And so you see that by the way some of the goals people pick are inherently not fun. And that's something that'll stop you from even starting.
Yeah, like one of the goals I have for myself this year is to play as many rounds of golf as possible. And I feel like when I tell that to people, they look at me weird, like why would you set a goal that's fun? Like most goals people have
seems
are
lazy,
miserable.
or it seems lazy. And
right.
So, I mean, because let's pretend golf is exercise for a minute.
6.5 miles I walk every time I play. Thank you very much.
So somebody says to me all the time, they'll say, I'm going to get in shape. And I go, great, how? And they'll say, I'm going to start jogging. And I'll go, do you like jogging? They go, no, I hate it. I hate running. And I know, well, you're not going to do it. Like you're not going to do it if out of the gate you think it's a miserable activity. Like you're already behind.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the problem. I always tell the story or the joke. Like one of our fastest growing sports in America right now are adventure races, like the Spartan race, Tough Mudder. And in the Tough Mudder, which I have nothing against, but in the Tough Mudder race, you get electrocuted by live wires as one. Like that's an activity. And I would argue most days, you might not think about it in the front of your brain, but like somewhere in that animal part of your head is this idea of like, I hope a live wire doesn't touch my bare skin today. But on Tough Mudder Day, you pay for that. Like you give a man money for that. And this is after you've dumped into a dumpster full of ice water and swum under a wall. And they make you swim under the wall so that you're fully immersed because then your muscles seize and you can't move. Then you get to crawl into our live wire field. And they're not all live because where would the surprise be in that? And my friend Dino did it. And I said, what is it like? And he said, well, I'm crawling and I'm soaking wet. And I was like, I'm pretty sure that's good for electricity. You're supposed to be wet. And he said, I almost make it through, and I feel a wire brush gently between my shoulder blades. And all of a sudden, it feels like a giant with a hammer for a hand punched me as hard as he could into the core of the earth. I thought, the T-shirt you get for that better be amazing. Like, it better just be the best. And that's what we do. And from a corporate perspective, like people watching this right now, the dozens and dozens, they have all worked at companies where they use what's called SMART goals. SMART goals have been around for decades. And a SMART goal is defined, and the words change sometimes, but they're defined as specific, measurable, attainable or achievable, realistic, and time-bound. And I like all those words. Those are helpful words. But like, tell me which of those words is even remotely related to fun. Like, what, time-bound? Like, hey, how was vacation? It was amazing. I knew when it was going to end. It was time bound. It was great. And so that's what I would argue from the beginning point, people pick the wrong goals because they think it has to be difficult.
Do you think there are some goals that aren't inherently fun? Like there's nothing fun about turning in your TPS report by next Friday, but we can find ways to work fun into the achieving of those goals somehow?
I would argue that most goals aren't inherently fun. Like trying to ski more is a fun goal.
Right.
Trying to play golf more is a fun goal.
Right.
There are some inherently fun goals. Taking your daughter on a date more is a fun goal. But most goals, especially when you inherit goals, because let's be honest, like most people that watch this inherit goals at work. Your boss, your manager, your leader, whatever, your supervisor said, here's our corporate goals. Like, this is where we're headed. And then you have to figure that out. So the big thing there, and what's interesting is, so we did this 6-month study with nearly 900 people, me and this PhD. I don't think I'll ever write another book without a PhD on board to say, hey, here's what really works, here's what doesn't. That's what I think people responded to in Finish, is that it's data-based. So when you study people, you study two things: satisfaction and performance. Satisfaction, how they felt; performance, how they actually did. Now, a good principal has to raise both. If I only raise satisfaction, but your performance goes down, you're smiling all the way to last place. If I only raise performance, but your satisfaction goes down, you're every rich, miserable person you've ever met. Like, we've all known successful, miserable people.
Yeah.
So you have to raise both. So what we found is, if you make your goal fun, you're more than 30% more satisfied. But the big thing is, you're 46% more successful. So you're way more successful if you enjoy it. Now, the trick there, like you said, is not every goal is fun. I think entrepreneurs online do people a great disservice where they say, you know, you've got to love everything you do. Or when you find your purpose, it's just easy and it flows naturally, and you're planted in the right spot and you bloom. And it's like, I mean, you and I know an entrepreneur. We don't know her personally, but we know of her, who said, if you don't like 90% of what it takes to be in your industry, you're in the wrong industry. And I just thought, that's garbage. Yeah. That means in a 40-hour work week, there's only 4 hours where you're not like, this is amazing, this is amazing. Like, most people have a longer commute than that. So the trick is, you have to figure out which form of fun motivates you. And the two forms that scientists talk about are reward and fear. Now, let's not use fear in the wrong sense here, where fear means evil. Fear can be a deadline. Like, we've all been motivated by a deadline before. That was the fear of missing the deadline, and it gave you adrenaline. So an example of that is, if you go to the doctor and you're reward-based, they also call it approach or avoidance, in that if I do these things, I approach this reward, or if I do these things, I avoid this negative. So if you go to the doctor and you're reward-based, the doctor needs to say, if you get in shape, you'll be able to go on all the water slides this summer with your son, because they have a weight limit. If you get in shape, you'll be able to hike, you know, this fun, beautiful trail with your wife. If you're fear-based, he says to you, if you don't lose weight, you won't make it to your daughter's wedding. If you don't lose weight, you'll develop the same ailments your parents have. And there's a fear, and same with finances. So if your financial advisor knows you're reward-based, he or she says to you, oh, you're reward-based? If you get your money in order, you can buy an RV and you can go scuba diving as much as you want. You can move to Florida. Or if you're fear-based, they say, if you don't get your money in order, you have to work for the rest of your life and your kids won't go to college. Like, you have to work until the day you die. Like, you're going to work on Monday and then ask off on Tuesday because you have to attend a funeral, your own funeral. And you're going to be like, hey, Gary, can somebody cover me? I'll be dead tomorrow. I'm not going to be able to greet people at Walmart. So those are, like, your job is to figure out which of those two things moves you the most.
What about for you? What have you found? Which motivates you?
Yeah, and what's interesting is it changes depending on the thing. So take public speaking, for instance. I prepare very, 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 very carefully my speeches, not just for the laughter. Like, I like the laughter, I like clapping, whatever. I don't want to bomb. My worst fear, not my worst, but when it comes to public speaking, what motivates me is the idea of having an hour-long talk and I'm done in 10 minutes. And then it's like 50 minutes of trying to, like, fill the space. And you go like, ugh. And so that motivates me there. With writing, little things did. Like, I would say, I love this candle. Like, we have this balsam fir candle that smells like Christmas. And I was like, I'm only going to light it when I'm writing. Like, is that small and dumb? Of course it is. Yeah. Or I bought a pair of ski boots when I finished part of the book, and I had the money for the ski boots before, but I knew I wanted that reward. And so, yeah, I think it depends on the person, depends on the project.
Yeah. So when people are attacking a goal, say that they inherit at work, what are some practical ways? Do you think putting a reward system in place is one of the most practical ways that they can kind of incorporate fun into a goal that's not inherently fun at all?
Yeah, so I would say there's a couple ways. Say you're fear-based. Say you've got approval, like you want approval, you don't like to disappoint people. Like not disappointing somebody is a fear-based motivation. Mm-hmm. So if I was at work and my boss gave me a project, I would volunteer that every Friday I'll email the entire team an update on this project, because I know that come Thursday, if something hasn't happened, I don't want the email on Friday to be like, hey, how about the weather? Like I know that'll help drive me. Or I might post the results of what I'm working on. Like maybe outside my cubicle, there's a sign that's like, hey, here's the 5 things we worked on. Here's where we're at. From a reward perspective, it can be something small. Like it can be, I'm going to go to a movie by myself. Like if you're married with kids, like a movie by yourself is like, it's so dumb. It's like the greatest suburban indulgence, you know? So you say to your wife or your husband, like, hey, I know this is silly, but like I got this big project, and if I do my part, I'm going to do this thing. And that's not crazy. Like that's not what, like you're talking about, it's a $15 reward where sometimes people go, oh, they're just expensive. They don't have to be expensive. They can be small. They can be, minute little things. Or maybe you say, okay, I'm going to go out to my favorite lunch spot, like once I finish this part of this, or, I'm going to find another reward. So yeah, your job. So there's 2 things when you work at a company. It's figuring out who you are and figuring out who the people you work with are. Like the most frustrating thing for corporations is when they try to motivate an employee with the wrong motivation system. So like right now, millennials, that's what's part of the millennial challenge, is that like 45% of millennials care more about workplace flexibility than they do salary. And so you have boomer CEOs that try to fix a millennial problem with a boomer solution. And so the millennial saying, hey, I want to work from home on Thursdays. And the boomer CEO says, what if we gave you better benefits? And they're like, yeah, I want to work from home on Thursday. He's like, what if I gave you a little more money? Like they don't care.
Right.
And so I think like if you want to, and everyone watching this right now who's ever managed somebody has had a situation where they had a great employee, but they just kept messing up. And they went to them and they gave them a fear-based talk, and they said, hey, if you don't get your act together, like we love you, you're funny, you're so great, like we love you, we see so much potential. If you don't get your act together, we're going to have to let you go. Like if you don't get your act together, here are the consequences. And if the person isn't motivated by it doesn't matter. Like it rolls right off their back.
Yeah. They
need to figure out, hey, if you get your act together, here's this reward system. I remember I worked with a girl, and they gave us an orange iPod Shuffle at the company I worked at when they were really small and square. Mm-hmm. And I remember her being like, ugh, like I hate this color. And at the time I thought she was like entitled and selfish or whatever. But now I realize she's just not motivated by rewards. Like it could have been $1,000 thing and she'd be like, meh, like that wasn't her reward system. So if you want to have a better job, like if you want to have a better day, figure out, okay, the 5 people I work with the most, you don't have to manage them. Like, it can just be somebody you're on a team with. And, like, that's what's funny about high school. In high school and college, you're like, I hate being on a team with somebody who doesn't do any of the work, and then they get the same grade. Well, like, welcome to adulthood. Like, you're not going to like a developer, or you're not going to like a designer or whoever. But it's part of your job is to figure out, oh, here's your motivation system. How do I encourage that?
In college, I did a paper with 2 other friends, and we had a grade multiplier that you secretly put in after the project, and apparently they didn't want to reward my laziness on the project, and so they got A's, and I got like a B-.
That's funny.
Well, it was well-deserved. One thought that I had when you were talking about reward and fear is in the realm of health goals, because I see hashtags all the time that play right into this. In terms of reward-based, I think I see people hashtagging cheat day because they've had discipline for 6 days, and now they're rewarding themselves with a cheat day. I've also seen a funny hashtag tweet your weight. I see people who will tweet what the scale says every morning, and then usually it's accompanied by something funny like couldn't resist the tacos or whatever. But they're using fear-based, right?
Yeah, there's actually scales that will do that automatically.
Oh, interesting.
So that like they're Bluetooth. And there's all these studies about like if you share your results with people, what that looks like. Yeah, cheat day. Tim Ferriss in 4 Hour Body talks about that a lot. Mm-hmm. Like his whole thing is eat specifically all week, and you pick the day, and then on your cheat day, like eat garbage. And he's got all these studies where like the carb like helps you, like the carb crash helps you and all this stuff. And part of it is he's like, I know you're gonna anyway. I'd rather be on purpose. The challenge is when like we all have friends that like every time we see them, they're like, oh, it's just my cheat day. You're like, I saw you yesterday and it was your cheat day, you know?
Yeah, they're like banking cheat days.
Yeah, like but I mean, it is that sense of like you can share it, even like with books. So one of my challenges is to read more books, and I share them online. And I love getting like people. I love that people are like, oh, awesome, way to go, keep going. Like that motivates me. I also like that they'll recommend other books, and it indicates like people think it can't be fun. Like, if I post a graphic novel, people go, oh man, does that even count? And I always want to say, like, does that book count according to Jon Acuff's book challenge for Jon Acuff by Jon Acuff? Like, who is, like, that's what's funny is people won't read books because they go, I got to read more books. I'm going to start with War and Peace. Like, I'm gonna start with all the books I hated in high school. And you go, like, why would you do that?
Right.
Like, yeah, your golf one's a funny one because, yeah, I guarantee nobody is like proud of you. Like when you say that, I guarantee nobody's like, maybe Tyler, your golf buddy.
Sure.
But the average person doesn't go, good for you. Like, you're doing it. Like,
and to be honest, I usually always end that sentence by saying, I've got 2 goals this year. One is to golf more, and one is to make more money in my business than ever. And I feel like I have to put in that qualifier at the end because if my only goal is to play golf more, I'm some lazy guy.
That's great.
And
it's so true.
And so when you post that, I'm assuming it's like good motivation for you when you post that you finished a book. It's kind of like a little bit of a brag, like, hey, look, I'm up at 105 now.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. And I like seeing how high I can get the number. And I like encouraging other people. Like I've had other people be like, hey, that's, I'm reading more because you challenged me. Like I'm only going to do 10, but it's helpful. Like I only did 2 last year. So I think, it has to be personal. It has to be something you care about. And yeah, you can't expect every goal to be fun. Like, well, there's like, I don't love business travel. Like it's not terrible, but like missing flights, stuff like that. Like that's not my favorite part. Yeah. And often it takes me, take me 8 hours to get somewhere I get to speak for half an hour, but like I would trade that. And so, here's another reward thing. I decided about a year ago when I'm at a car rental place, I'm going to upgrade the car rental. Like within reason. Like I'm not like, give me the, the Tesla. But so the last couple cars I've had, I had like a nice Buick, had a Cadillac, a Volvo, a Challenger with a Hemi, and it made the whole thing so much better. And in most of those situations, I paid $16.
Right.
And I was going to drive for 3 hours, but so the $16, it's like, would I pay $5.33 for this per hour? I'm like, I would. Like, it's so much more enjoyable.
Right.
So I think part of it is finding little, I think most people would say, oh yeah, business travel. Oh, like they go, I hate missing flights. I hate getting to the airport. I hate finding the rental car. I hate when the rental car shuttle is like 10 miles away from the airport. Like, oh, I hate it. Like, and I would get that. I understand that. So I'm going to find little ways. Like that's where I'm really kind of studying which airline I'm going to go with forever, because there are little nice things that other airlines do.
Sure.
I love the companion pass on Southwest, but you balance out and go, okay, but there's no first class, so there's never any so you start to go, okay, where's the thing that makes this or even investing in a pair of Quiet Comfort headphones from Bose. Like if you're going to fly a bunch, saying, okay, I don't need to own 50 pairs. I don't need to own crazy stuff. But I'll show up more refreshed if I do this, and that's worth the reward. It's a little reward for I traveled and I got to do this thing and hear this. And so, yeah, it doesn't have to be monetary, but $15 for a rental car upgrade, I'll never go back.
Yeah.
And you'd be shocked how many people just don't even ask. A lot of times I ask and they go, we'll give it to you free. Just because you're nice. So yeah, I love doing that.
So a couple of big picture takeaways. we talked about inherited goals, but then and sometimes those really will have no fun in them, and you really got to work to put fun in. But in terms of goals that you're making for yourself, try to make them as fun as possible. You brought up the health goal in running and why run if you hate running. So when it's your own goal, really try to put as much fun into it as possible.
Well, and you don't have anybody to blame but yourself. So, I meet a lot of entrepreneurs that still want to find like a serious mean boss because they've had one. Like it's this weird where like the way they perform with clients, they forget like, oh wait, I can fire a client like that. If I want to fire a client, like you fire the client, like
right.
That's your choice. And so I would say, the big takeaway is you have permission to be fun. And not only do you have permission, you have incentive because you'll perform better. Like you're 46% more successful. So if you said to me, I want to be more successful, what's an easy way? I would say have more fun in the goals you do. Even, and maybe not even, especially the goals that aren't fun inherently.
Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Well, that's interesting. I need to think about the different motivations that I have and if I'm motivated by fear or reward in terms of my goals.
Yeah, and it changes. It definitely changes. Yeah. But yeah, this is hopefully this is helpful for other people. It's fun to take a few minutes and kind of unpack an idea. And there we go.
All right. Thanks, John.
See ya.